Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Tuesday Night Touchdown with Dan Galvin and Jordan Thompson. This is episode 3 of our radio show. Thank you for tuning in, Jordan. Yeah, so we got some great topics for you this week. I'm really excited to get into it. Big week in sports. NFL having free agency, a bunch of stuff going on there. A lot of stuff happening in the NBA this weekend, so that's really fun. So I'm gonna hop right into it if you're cool with it. So we're gonna start tonight off with the Antonio Brown trade. As you all know, or if you those of you pay attention to sports, I'm sure you all know, Antonio Brown was traded to the Oakland Raiders this weekend for a third and a fifth round pick. And a lot of people have mixed emotions about it. Some people are saying the Raiders won, some people are saying the Steelers won. And you gotta kind of look at it from both sides. I feel like the Raiders got off from a toxic situation that's kind of been plaguing their franchise for the past year and a half or so. Ever since AB really got unhappy with his contract, I think that's when it like really flared out. He's been on a way too long leash way before that, but that's a different story. And the Raiders, a lot of people are saying, well, they're giving this guy who might be a locker room cancer a lot of money, a lot of guaranteed money. So I don't know. What do you think about it?
I think definitely. I don't know. When it comes to Antonio Brown, he's definitely one of the best wide receivers in. He's definitely one of the best wide receivers in the league. However, with all the drama that he brought to that organization, when it comes to just putting him on my team, I would definitely, I would definitely hesitate. You know, he is an amazing talent. But I'm looking at his contract that he got from the Raiders from the trade, and just looking at what Antonio Brown got. Definitely, I mean, I will say when it comes to
He won the
talent,
trade for
he well
sure.
deserved.
He won the trade somehow.
Yeah.
Like he got what he wanted, and then like,
I was gonna say,
oh no, go ahead.
oh, I was gonna say, that's a really good point. He ultimately won the trade. When it comes to who won the trade for the Raiders and the Steelers, it's almost even to me because the Raiders got a great talent. They needed some talent. They're going to a new city. They need a big name uh, to kind of support Gruden and his coaching dynasty. At the same time, the Steelers got a couple picks, decent picks, not great, not first and second, but decent picks,
Yeah,
third and fifth round, and they got rid of all that drama. So it's like it's really about the same, but ultimately, I think you're right. I think AB won the trade ultimately.
I think if there's one lesson to really be learned from this whole situation, I think that is just that you really, if you want to get your way, go balls to the walls and just be like, this is what I want, and I'm not like like pout, like don't do what they want you to do. Do what you want to do. Make power moves. Like as much as I hate to say it, being the guy who conforms and tries to respect the people who they're trying to leverage their way. I think you just break down all the barriers and just be like, I'm not coming back, man. This is you can either trade me or I'm leaving, but you have no other options because I'm even if you don't trade me, there's no way I'm coming back into your locker room and burning all the bridges down. That was AB's strategy and it worked. So I think
Yeah,
it's kind of unconventional and it goes against everything you're kind of taught as a kid, but that's what he did to get out of a situation that I didn't like. I definitely think it'll be interesting going forward. I think he's gonna. I don't know. I watched the barbershop series with LeBron and everything, and he was talking about, oh yeah, I'm all about winning and stuff. I I think he's gonna realize how good he had it being on one historically one of the best franchises of all time. Going to a Raiders team with no real structure, hasn't been good, has had like one good season in the past 15 years. So I think he's gonna really realize how good he had it back then in Pittsburgh. But I'm intrigued to see how it goes forward.
yeah. Um, I struggle with two different things. So I struggle with first off, you think about being playing sports. Sports is always about trading your own statistics. Well, it's supposed to be about trading your own statistics, your own kind of well-being for the betterment of the team, right?
Yeah,
That's what sports is ultimately supposed to be about, at least team sports. But then you look at when it comes to actually working as a job when you're growing up in your career job, It's about betterment of the company, but more so in society nowadays, we preach, getting all that you can get out of it because, you're already working for, you're making this company money, you're making the money, get as much as you can get out of it. So it's like a clash in between sports and actually working
Definitely.
a job.
Definitely.
There's,
And
there's two opposing views on that.
yeah, and actually to kind of piggyback off what you're saying there, I was watching First Take and Max Kellerman actually had a great point yesterday. So he was saying all these fans who are chastising Antonio Brown, saying, "Oh, like how could you want to leave a really successful team where you know you're going to be a contender and at least a playoff contender while you're there? How could you leave that team for a team that has been one of the worst franchises in the NFL in the good part of the last 2 decades? How could you want to do that? Even if you're leaving that for more money, like how could you as a competitor, how could you want to give that all up?" Well, Max Kellerman said, at the end of the day, the NFL is a TV show, and the playoffs is just more episodes of that same TV show. And if you're getting paid to play in less episodes of that TV show, you're getting paid more money to play in less episodes of that TV show, and all you're doing is entertaining people. That's what if people weren't entertained by the NFL, none of these guys would make millions of dollars. That's the bottom line. So all these guys, they're entertainers. Max Kellerman, not to put down athletes in any way, but he said essentially they're actors. Like they're going out and they're putting a product out that entertains millions of people across the country. So Antonio Brown is in no way like you wouldn't criticize an actor for going out for a role that pays more money. Like and Antonio Brown's doing the same thing. He's going out for a role that gives him more money. And I think winning should be a part of what builds a great athlete. But at the end of the day, I mean, I think in any other field outside of athletics, no one would criticize someone for taking a job that pays more money. So I'm not mad at Antonio Brown for wanting to get out and knowing that he could get more money. I am kind of I do place the blame on the Steelers too. I think the Steelers let the situation get out of hand. I think they could have done a better job of diffusing it and kind of showing both sides that they matter to them. I think they value Big Ben too much. They gave him too much right to criticize his teammates. Yeah, no, I think Antonio Brown felt disrespected by the Steelers for one, giving Big Ben the right to say whatever he wanted to say about him, and two, not paying him the money that he thought he deserved. And I understand the Steelers' philosophy. They don't give in to players wanting more money. Obviously, the whole Le'Veon situation came up, and I think they're really betting on Juju Smith-Schuster too. So I think it's interesting going forward, and I can see the Steelers. I'm not mad at the Steelers for sticking to their guns and showing like we're not going to cave into player demands because I think what they believe is that opens up a door that allows like a generation or like that lets a culture of really self what's the word for it like players who aren't for the team and they're all for themselves, they're just for the contract, but at the end of the day that's what it's gonna be like. And especially they let that culture secondhand fester because they didn't nip these things in the bud. They let Big Ben talk about his teammates. They gave Le'Veon Bell, Antonio Brown too big of a leash to do these antic things without really punishing them in any way. I think after the Kansas City incident where Antonio Brown Facebook Live Mike Tomlin's post game talk to the team, I think they should have really reined that in and be like, look, like you can't do this stuff. This stuff's not going to fly. And they think they should have punished him more than they did. And I think they let these guys get too entitled and then expected them not to want what they believed they were entitled to. So I think it really goes both ways. And yeah, go ahead.
No, I was gonna say, that's the problem with sports nowadays, and I think that we say nowadays, and yes, these pro athletes have been. Antonio Brown is 30 years old, but I think that just the modern day sports, I mean, it all goes back to these AAU kids that play basketball and these,
Oh, definitely.
these football players who get recruited in fourth and fifth grade.
The culture of youth sports is toxic now.
It's extremely, and I mean, and that's also, worse worsened by social media
Mm-hmm.
and all that stuff. I mean, you tell a kid when he's in 4th or 5th grade, 10, 11 years old, that he's the greatest thing to ever walk the earth, whatever sport, and then that creates Antonio Brown.
I mean, and
Like
these coaches, these college coaches are allowed to recruit kids now from the time they're like in 7th grade. So these 12-year-old kids have scholarship offers to UCLA, Auburn, Duke, in like basketball and football. And why, like, if you have all that stuff given to you and you know you're gonna have all this stuff, you don't have any respect for like earning the things that you think you should like, because they're just given to you from the start. So there's no sense of earning the things that are given to you. They're just given to you now. Like nowadays, they're just given to you. So I think that's a big part of it. One more thing I'm gonna add to it. I think you'll agree with me on this too. Man, your mouth and what you say can really, really, really change what you're worth. Because just look what Amari Cooper got. Like look what the Cowboys had to trade for Amari Cooper, and then look what the Raiders had to trade for Antonio Brown.
That's your mouth. I mean, if Antonio Brown wouldn't, this is what I think. I don't think a team would have gave up a 1st-round pick for Antonio Brown just because of what transpired in the season and he's 30 years old.
His age is a factor. Huh. I think that's smarter. That's smart. I think from a competitive standpoint, and also the Patriots have been the team in the past 7 or 8 years that the Steelers haven't been able to get past. So I don't mind that move. I'm just surprised that no other team offered a 2nd and like a 5th. I didn't think he would be all the way down to a 3rd and a 5th. Just because, I mean, yeah. 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 And I think part of it was they didn't want to trade someone who was like going to be even like a contender for the playoffs. And just judging how bad the Raiders were last year, I can't see them making that big of a turnaround. Even with Antonio Brown, they have way more problems than just needing a receiver. You know what I mean? And a receiver, that's the thing too. I'm in the camp where I think wide receiver is one of the most overrated positions in football. Like overvalued, not overrated, because those guys are extremely talented, and I'm not taking anything away from that. But I think a better term would be overvalued, because I think a lot of teams that are really good, they don't need that top 5 receiver. I mean, look at the teams who had those receivers this year. Pittsburgh missed the playoffs. Atlanta missed the playoffs. New York missed the playoffs. Houston got beat by the Colts in the 1st round. So I mean, I think that covers the top 4 receivers or so in the NFL, and their teams didn't do anything. So I think having since the receiver is such a dependent position, you need the ball to get thrown to you, and it needs to be someone who's competent at their job as well. I think it's smart for teams not to chase Antonio Brown and give up a lot. I think that was a smart move around the league, and then that's even before he said all of like the crazy things he did about his teammates.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with you there. I mean, again, I'm gonna quote him again. Chris Carter on First Things First, Hall of Fame wide receiver, great receiver, played for many different teams. He said, receiver, he isn't the easiest position, but is the most dependent.
Yeah.
I mean, if the people who, if you don't have an offensive line, that's give the quarterback time. Maybe the quarterback's not good. It's depending on a lot of things. The play calling has to be good. A lot of things have to go right for you to be successful at your job.
See,
with that being said, you need to be able to. A lot of different receivers are good. I mean,
exactly.
It's just really the basis of it.
Exactly. And from my time watching football, you can really kind of see football is almost like it's like a clock, and you need one gear to work for the next gear to work. And I feel like it starts with like the line, and then the line needs to give the quarterback enough time to throw the ball, and the quarterback needs to give a good ball for the receiver to catch. And all those gears before the wide receiver, they need to be turning before the wide receiver can even get the ball. So and the receiver is really the last gear in that equation. So that's why I think they're kind of overvalued in their position, because you can find guys to fill that last gear spot that are competent enough. Because I mean, everyone in the NFL can catch football for the most part. Every wide receiver. So
Most running backs can.
yeah, exactly. So I think
To your theory, the Colts have a good quarterback. I mean, this is just you speaking as a really big Colts fan. Colts have a good quarterback. I've been an avid Colts fan. I didn't want to talk about that. I was like,
yeah.
and we, way too expensive, too much drama. I don't want to. Like, I want good quality receivers, but I don't need the big name number one. So I don't need to get Antonio Brown or Odell Beckham.
Exactly. Exactly. But they're overpaid. They take too much cap space, I think. Yeah. I don't know why it's like that. It's probably it just seems like that's the case though throughout history. I just you know what I think is funny too? Wide receiver is probably the most diva like position. Cornerback is probably the second most diva like position. Like the guy who defends the wide receivers are also divas. It seems like a lot of time, but I just think that's interesting. But if yeah, they're kind of like the last thing that happens in all the steps that need to happen before they're in play. You know what I mean? Yeah, yeah. It's also a very big like one play position. Like if you get that one play, then you had a successful game. It's not you don't yeah on every single play. Like you have to do your job to its maximum potential every single time the ball's snapped. Yeah, so I think that really sums it up. We unless you got anything else to say about it, I think you talking about the Colts actually is a great segue into our next topic. Some big free agent pickups over the league in the past week. Um, I mean, we might as well start with the Colts. I feel like in the Colts receiving core for that, Devin Funchess got picked up by the Colts. I think that's huge. Um, yeah. What do you think about the whole thing? Yeah. I think that was a great pickup for the Colts. He got paid a lot. He got paid. He's yeah, 84, 6 years, 84 million, and I think it was like 45 guaranteed or something. That I mean, and he's a good player, but is he worth 45 guaranteed? Like I don't know about that. You know what I mean? Yeah, yeah. Hmm. Oh man, you know how I feel about that, baby. Dude, I like Yeah. And even though we're not getting prime Djax back, we as in the Eagles, it's just he could be a shell of himself. And I'm just happy that hopefully he retires an Eagle. Like hope you know what I mean? It's just something that should have never been broken apart, in my opinion. And Chip Kelly just had to ruin that. So it's just like there's so much nostalgia in having Djax back. I love it. I'm so happy. But like even if he can get if he gets 3 of those like 70-yard bomb touchdowns that just give you shivers this season, I will be that's it. That's all I need. I'm curious about that 50 mil guaranteed. They're desperate. Yeah. Mhm. Well, that's I don't that I was thinking the same thing. And that's the problem, not to go back on like diva wide receivers or anything, but that's the problem with these players. They're like, "Oh, like I'm the best one in the game, but these guys who are worse than me, they're making way more money." That's because you signed your contract way before they did. So they were making way less money before you at some point. But since you signed your contract, they signed another contract, and once your contract's up, you'll be able to sign a contract that's bigger than theirs too. So people, you know what I mean? Yeah. So I totally agree with you. The cap is I don't know how. I mean, the cap did get raised a few years ago, but it just seems like it like gets raised continually year to year because guys are just signing bigger and bigger contracts. Exactly. Yeah. Oh, back in the '60s, you probably had to go ask the guy to his face, like, "How much you making, dude?"
And so,
Yeah, exactly. Like, I'm the best in the game, so I need to be making the most in the game. It's like, no, it like contracts don't work like that, my guy. Like, yeah, you gotta like you signed your contract before they signed theirs, so you gotta wait for your contract to be up so you can sign another bigger one. Like, that's how sports works. But anyways, t-
I want to make another note. This was crazy.
yeah. Oh, he's going to the. I did see that to the Bills. I don't. He has to be 40 years old now because he went from the Colts to the Dolphins and now to the Bills. Is that right? As a running back, he might as well be 40. Yeah, yeah.
34-year-old running back, man. So
I just
I have
The Bills are a weird team. What they got? Him, Cole Beasley. Who else did they get?
John. They got
John Brown. That's the other guy. That'll be an interesting team. I don't not necessarily a good team, but just an interesting one.
Yeah. Yeah, those were really the main ones that stuck out to me. I mean,
Tyrann Mathieu. Yeah.
yeah, Tyrann Matthew to the Chiefs. Chiefs need any type of help they get on their defense.
Jordan
Like
Hicks.
D Ford.
Jordan Hicks to the Cardinals as well. Who was? Yep, Jordan Hicks. The Eagles released him and he signed with the Cardinals. Who else? There's another linebacker. Yeah, I did see. I was surprised to see that. I thought Terrell Suggs would retire a Raven, to be honest. Yeah, I just I understand these guys. They want to keep playing forever, and they as long. Obviously, you want to make as much money as you can too, and if you can get another 1 year contract, then yeah. But it kind of sucks seeing these guys who you see as the team that they were on. Like you see Terrell Suggs as a Raven, you know what I mean? And it sucks to see them like go to some random team in like the twilight of their career and like not do anything. I don't know. I just feel like that's kind of weird. But Yeah, I was surprised to see Terrell Suggs. Landon Collins too.
Yeah, for the Redskins.
Yep.
Yeah,
I think unless we're forgetting someone.
Latavius Murray.
Oh, yeah, I did see that, which means Mark Ingram's probably out of there too. Yeah. I'm really excited. Alvin Kamara, I think, is in for a really big season next year now. And their best receiver almost. Yeah, I mean if yeah. No, the Saints will be really interesting. The NFC South will be really fun to watch next year. I mean, I think that. No, go ahead. Oh, one more actually, one more. Malik Jackson, the Eagles signed him. Yeah, Malik. I'm really excited about that.
I saw that original report. It said 3 years, 10 million. Which report made an error? It said 3 years, 10 million instead of 3 years, 30 million.
We finessed them.
I thought y'all had the steal of the decade.
Bro, if that was the case, Howie Roseman will be the best GM in the history of GMs.
Oh my gosh! And then it said, and then about 10 minutes later, it said, "We made a mistake. It's 3 years, 30 minutes." I was like, okay.
I mean, even that, I was happy with that though.
That is still good. That's good, and I think that y'all got that. Y'all got him in the best spot that y'all could, because he was a guy who was dominant for 2 years.
Yeah.
And then had a down year his third year. So everybody was like, well, he just came off a down year, so we're not going to pay him everything he wants.
Yeah.
The dude still has a lot of tank. I watched him in college. He has a motor.
No, and I'm really excited to see where the Eagles offseason goes forward too, because obviously we're probably going to trade Michael Bennett to the Patriots, which I'm not too happy about, but you know, you can't have everything go your way. However, we are in one of the top contenders to land Ndamukong Suh. We're pursuing him, as well as Justin Houston. So I think if we can get either one of those guys, and then Malik Jackson in there as well, we'll have a great defensive line again.
Ooh, Malik Jackson and Suh, and then Houston on the edge. I mean,
and then we got Fletcher Cox in there too.
Those are some. Didn't y'all re-sign Brandon Graham?
We did.
And
Derek Barnett's coming back from injury next year too.
That's a bully.
Yeah, that has been the Eagles' strength. Like, that was the one consistent thing all last season, was the defensive line was really good all year. And I hate to go up against that line. Yeah, and I think that's just really anchored by like a lot of veteran presence too. So I don't know. I'm really excited about it. But do you have anything else to add about some of the other teams around the league? Yeah, I definitely agree. I think we're just getting started. There's still some marquee free agents left, so I'm excited to see where the league, or see what teams, what shifts happen. So I think it'll be fun watch see what happens go forward.
Just quick FYI, free agency actually doesn't open until
Wednesday. Yeah. Yeah.
So none of these deals are official. None of them are official. Besides the trade, none of the deals, none of the free agents have actually signed. So they can back out.
Yeah. Yeah. Who else did the Jets miss out on? A center. Oh, okay. What was the Jets were about to sign a center, and he went. Oh man, I need to go on ESPN because I was reading about this right before I came in. The Jets missed out on Anthony Barr, and they were about to get someone else, like a pretty good center, and he backed out some other team. He signed with some other team last second. I cannot remember his name. No, I think his last name started with an M. I think. I cannot remember. I can't remember the team or the players. I'll go on ESPN. I'll send you it afterwards, but I can't remember it right now. Anyways, though, not to throw a complete 180 on you. We're gonna shift over to the NBA real quick for our next topic. And this is something that happened last night with Russell Westbrook. It's been occurring throughout the year with fans interacting with players. Specifically, last night, Russell Westbrook got into a verbal altercation with a fan where Russell Westbrook said some pretty profane things towards the fan. However, what Russell Westbrook and some of his teammates, namely Patrick Peterson, are saying was the fan was saying really vulgar things that as a man you just could not let go, like racist things. So
That was Patrick Patterson.
Patrick Patterson, my bad. So my question to you is, how should the NBA handle these situations of fans heckling players as well as players interacting back with fans? How do you think the NBA should handle these situations?
That's so tough because when it comes to the NFL and MLB, the players and the fans are so separated. They're so far away from each other. You really can't hear.
Yeah.
And it's so loud. You can't really pick out things. Like, you really have to try to listen to be able to hear it. But when it comes to the NBA, the fans are right there in the action. I mean, fans can literally stick out their hands and touch. Like,
They're on the court. Yeah.
they're on the court. So really, the only way that you can increase the sport to me, you can increase security and then put security. I mean, you don't want to start doing the thing like how like Walmart does, like have shoppers who are quote unquote shoppers, but really security just walking around.
Yeah.
Put security in the seats because then you're losing money on the seats.
Hmm.
So maybe
Especially those seats too by the court.
exactly. So maybe increase security, but I don't really know how much you do because I mean, as much as you as a man or a woman, you again pay all this money. That means you are entitled to a seat and entitled to enjoy the game, but you're not entitled to say whatever.
Yeah, especially things that degrade someone's family or ethnicity. I feel like you can talk about someone's game all you want. I feel like it's fair game to talk as much trash to a player as you want, as long as that's about their game purely and not something to do with their family, their person, like their personal life or their ethnicities, and just like racist, just disgusting thing. I think all that stuff is inexcusable for a fan, no matter how much money you pay. And I think, not to cut you off, but I think if it's proven that the fan was saying these racist things that he's accused of saying, I think no question he should have a lifetime ban from the arena. Exactly. Yeah. You only see Russ doing wrong. You don't see what the fan said. Yeah. Exactly. And yeah, that's a great point too. These guys, when you guys see these guys playing in games, they're at work. Like, that's what people don't understand. Like, you're having fun watching them. These guys are at work. That's their job to do this. So you wouldn't go into someone's cubicle at work and start calling them the N-word or these racist things, these terrible things. You would never do that because that's terrible. And it's the same thing. You don't go onto a basketball court or a football field and degrade someone. So I totally agree with what you're saying. Yeah. 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 Oh no, I agree. Exactly. And yeah, so one thing I'll add to that is I don't know one cut and dry solution that can fix this problem for the NBA specifically. However, I will say this. After the Malice and the Palace in Detroit, where Ron Artest fought the fan, I mean that they changed player conduct in the NBA forever. They changed the rules. They went back. They suspended Ron Artest for an entire season, pretty much, and it completely changed the way NBA players are expected to act and behave and carry themselves, especially in regard to the fans. And they put a new set of rules into the league that were meant to prevent players from interacting in negative ways with the fan. Well, the only thing that the problem with that is, yes, they were right in putting in place those rules, but it only changed the way players react or players interact with fans. There were no rules put in place where how fans were supposed to react with fans, or fans were supposed to react with players. And I think that's the problem. Obviously, the NBA, these guys work for the NBA, so and the NBA is essentially their boss. So they're gonna be have more responsibility, and they're gonna be expected to carry themselves more because the fans don't work for the NBA. However, I feel like as the NBA should put rules in place that protect their employees from being heckled and having to deal with disrespectful fans. So I think the NBA needs to find a set of rules that not only changes the way players interact, but also the way fans interact. I think they need to find a middle ground there.
I think, and I agree with that. And I think Shannon Sharp put it a good way. Shannon Sharp, a Hall of Fame tight end in the NFL. He said it gets to a point where a fan yells and says, Shannon, you can't catch, you suck. Look, that's all fair game.
Yep.
All fair game.
Yep.
And then Shannon Banks says,
You talk about his grandma.
yeah. Shannon replies to the fan and says, you stay in the stands, you could hand down here, all fair game.
It's all fair game, yeah.
It's all fair game. But then the fan in return, says something about his grandma or his grandparents, because he may have dug up dirt or something like that. Well, now it's not fair game.
Exactly.
And then you have fans touching players. It goes from being a sport, a competitive thing, to now you're treating players like zoo animals.
Exactly.
You can do whatever you want to them, and it's just not right.
Exactly. You're not when you go to these games, you're not watching people. You're watching people. You're not watching things for like you're there watching people work at the end of the day. And you wouldn't degrade people at their job in any other normal job. You wouldn't walk into someone's office, like I said before, and say terrible things. And it shouldn't change for the league. If you don't have anything else to say about that, I will. Our next topic is kind of similar to this topic in a way. It has to do with fan interaction. However, it has to do with fan interaction with an owner, specifically James Dolan, the owner of the Knicks. So over this past week, a fan near the tunnel seating, as James Dolan was exiting the arena, a fan yelled at him, "James Dolan, sell the team." And James Dolan went up and replied to him. He was like, "Well, you want me to sell a team, right? Well, that's rude. Have fun watching the Knicks at home because you're banned." And he had security remove the fan from Madison Square Garden. What kind of action do you think the league should take against James Dolan? Obviously, James Dolan runs MSG, and technically he can ban anyone he wants to. But should there be any consequence for that? Should the league force him to rescind a ban? Should he force him to apologize to the fan? What action, or if any action, do you think should be taken by the league?
Well, first I'm going to speak logically. I'm just going to speak straight from his cold hard rules. Like you said, he runs an MSG.
Yeah.
He has the ability. Now you did say, I saw the video, and you did say, hold security, hold that fan. I don't know what hold that fan means.
Yeah.
I don't know if you should detain a fan. I mean, I don't know if you can obviously kick them out. But I don't know if hold that fan, maybe hold them for, take a picture of him, so make sure he doesn't come back in.
Yeah.
Whatever that means, I don't know. But like you said, James Dolan, he's the owner of the franchise. He owns the building. He can do whatever he likes.
He's a joke. He is the worst. I hate him. As a Knicks fan, I absolutely despise him. But anyways, go on. Exactly. And he's ruined it. Madison Square Garden is nicknamed the Mecca of basketball. And yet the Knicks cannot sign a top free agent. And there's one common denominator. They have a good coach that's for the players. They have a huge amount of cap space, at least now. They have a competent GM, but the owner, James Dolan, has absolutely ruined the Knicks. He's chased off any top tier talent from coming, and he's ruined the reputation of New York, and he's killing basketball in New York. The Brooklyn Nets have more appeal than the New York Knicks, and that should never happen in 1,000 years. Exactly. Exactly. It's a toxic culture. Yeah. Exactly. Exactly. He's ridiculous. And I just it makes me sick. It makes me sick to see what the Knicks have become. It's just sad. It's good for the league. It's good for the league. That's the thing. It's good for the league. Yep. I mean, you look at those teams. You look at those teams. There's a reason why the Celtics, the Lakers, and the Knicks, they have had one set of colors. Their jerseys have pretty much stayed the same throughout the entire history of their franchise. Is because they have culture. You look at the Atlanta Hawks. Their jersey color has changed 30 times in the past 10 years. And that's because they don't have a culture that's established. The Knicks should have a culture, but they don't because it's been ruined by James Dolan. And not to go on and on about this, but I think one of the worst things about the Knicks is that they're worth $4 billion and they're the most valued franchise in sports because James Dolan's not going to sell the team as long as he's making that much money off of them. They don't. The problem with the Knicks and James Dolan is James Dolan doesn't need the Knicks to be good for him to make a lot of money off them. And at the end of the day, if he's making money off the Knicks, he doesn't care if they win 50 games or 15 games. They're still worth $4 billion. So you know what I mean. And no disrespect to the Milwaukee Bucks either, but having the Bucks have the best record in the league, having the Bucks and the Nuggets have two of the best records in the league, that's not good for the league. The Lakers, the Knicks, they're those teams should be the best teams in the league, but instead you have incompetent owners, incompetent GMs, and therefore all the talent is going to these small market teams. And I mean, I'm happy for those small cities because I'm sure the fans go crazy in Milwaukee for the Bucks. I'm sure they go crazy in Denver for the Nuggets. But it's the money isn't there in those markets, so it's not good for basketball as a whole. It's not that they don't deserve good players. It's just that it's not good as a whole for the NBA. Mhm. Yep. Yeah. Exactly. And as much as I hate Golden State too, Golden State is in a relatively like just being in California means you're like a big market team almost. So they are good for the league. As much as I hate to say it. Yeah. At MSG. MSG is a temple for basketball.
I would not have the mental capacity to be able to take some of the stuff that the players get home anyway. I mean, even if you're a Knicks, if you're having that game, the fans will let you know. I should not.
Yeah. Yeah.
You can test that. So Jalen Gold, he couldn't take one. I mean, like, look,
You're so thin skinned. You're a billionaire. You're a billionaire. You can't take that. You're a billionaire.
one insult.
Dude, like, and it was a completely fair game insult too. You like I was saying in the previous topic. You can tell players like you suck at basketball. Like that's fair game. This player said you're essentially like a terrible owner. Sell the team. That's fair game. You can do that. No, he's terrible. He's the worst owner in the NBA, if not all pro sports.
The truth can hurt. The truth does hurt a lot. We saw it firsthand.
So you know what someone needs to do? Someone needs to put a tape recorder in James Dolan's house, and hopefully he slips up and says some terrible things like the Clippers owner, and therefore he has to get he's forced to be thrown out of the league. Something's Donald Sterling, yeah. You know, and you know what else too? You know how you know that having terrible owners really drags down the team. Since Donald Sterling has got kicked out of the Clippers have been on the upward trend ever since then. They're probably going to be a really good team next year. Anyways, I can't talk about this anymore. We got one more topic. Touch on it really quickly if you're good. I know we talked about the Warriors for a split second in there, and we're gonna move on to the Warriors. We have to talk about the Warriors. If we're talking about NBA, you got to talk Warriors a little bit at least. Surprisingly, this time not a great thing about the Warriors though. The Warriors lost to Phoenix this week, and that dropped them to 4-6 in their last 10 games. Obviously, KD was banged up. Clay missed a few games. Steph's been a little banged up. What do you think? Do you think this is a serious concern for the Warriors, or do you think they're going to get their groove back in the playoffs?
I don't think it's a serious concern for Warriors. I mean, sports is sports, and it's as dominant as some teams are. Eventually, they're going to have a rough patch.
Yep.
Eventually, they're going to lose a couple games. Maybe through injury or maybe just missing shots. I mean, that's sport. That's the beauty of sports.
Yeah.
I don't care how good you are. One perfect team.
Mm-hmm.
Higher history. So it's like this happens. But you're talking about it's 5 all-stars.
They just get complacent. You know what I mean?
Yeah. It was an ugly loss. But I don't like about it.
I don't like that either. You know what I think is super ironic about that? The players on the Warriors can't bring it every night. So how are you asking the fans to bring it every night?
Exactly.
Like the Warriors fans are like, yeah, we're gonna win the finals. So why do we need to cheer for you guys against we don't need to cheer our hearts out. You guys are playing the 15-win Suns. Like, come on. Yeah, his whole post-game presser was all about that. Exactly, yeah. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. No, I come. I'll go on to talk about that for a second. I I pretty much agree with you on that. I think they're not as bulletproof as they have been in the past 3 years. However, my confidence for them is like maybe at the lowest like 90 to 85%. Like it was 100%. Now I'm like maybe some team can steal a few games from them. I think the only reason they would lose is one, Boogie's been a bit of a liability on defense. Draymond he can't shoot anymore, and hasn't been as good as he has been. And the thing about Draymond was he's had all his antics, and he's been loud and outspoken and complained and all that stuff. But the difference was he was playing really good those past few years, and so people kind of let it slide. It's like, well, like Draymond's gonna be Draymond, but he's playing really good, so what can you do about it? Now he's not playing great, so like, you really feel those antics. So that's one. Boogie's been good on offense. I think he's averaging like 15 and 8, which that's pretty solid for a guy who came back from Achilles tear. But he's been exactly. But he's been a bit of a defensive liability. And the Warriors bench is not what it used to be. It used to be on the bench. Sean Livingston was really good, especially in those final runs. He was playing really good. Leandro Barbosa, I think, is really overlooked as a great player who was on their bench before. And their bench it used to be you could take that Hampton 5 lineup out and put a bunch of bench players in and maybe leave like Steph Curry or Clay in, and they would still outscore the opposing team. But now you put the Warriors bench in, they're getting outscored. Like hands down, they're getting outscored because they have one of the worst benches in the NBA, I think. So I think the days, I think Shannon Sharp was saying this, but the days of the Warriors being able to steamroll teams, even though one of their stars goes down, I think that those days are over just because they don't have the depth that they used to have. So I think if one of their stars goes down or something, or if something for some reason just goes terribly wrong, like everything goes wrong for the Warriors, I think a team could steal a series from them. However, is it likely to happen? No. That's yeah. Who would they play in the first round? Would they play the Clippers in the first round right now, or the Kings? Yeah, I don't think they'd have. They're not going to have any trouble beating either one of those teams.
I disagree when it comes to Kings. I don't think they'll have trouble beating them in a series. Kings are just fast.
Yeah, they play hard. They play hard. I think the Clippers play hard too, and not shout out Lou Williams. He is now the all-time bench NBA scorer, all-time NBA bench player scoring. I don't even know how to get it out, but he scored the most points off the bench in NBA history. So shout out. Yeah, so shout out to him. So I don't think they'll have any trouble beating either one of those teams, but I think the only teams that'll really contest them is OKC and Houston. I think if they can beat either one of those teams, they'll go back to the finals, and they'll probably win. Milwaukee might give them some trouble if they make it to the finals, but I doubt it. Milwaukee's too unexperienced, I feel like. Yeah, I think that could happen. I really, really, really hope Paul George is 100%, because I really do think Oklahoma City with Russell Westbrook and Paul George 100%. I think they could upset Golden State. Give it a miracle. I think they could do it. Yeah. Yeah. You know what would be ironic about that whole thing too is that the year before Kevin Durant left, Oklahoma City was up 3-1 against the Warriors, and they blew the 3-1 lead. And had they not blown that lead, KD probably would have stayed in Oklahoma City. However, they blew the lead. KD goes to Golden State. How ironic would it be if the team to finally unseat the Warriors and beat them would be Oklahoma City, the team that Kevin Durant left. How ironic would that be? That would be, I would be so happy. I'm praying for that. I'm praying for that to happen. Anyways, though, I think that's about our show. If you don't have anything else to say. Well, in that case, thank you guys for tuning in. This is a Tuesday Night Touchdown with Danny Galvin and Jordan Thompson. 6 p.m. Eastern Time, WICR, and we'll see you next week. Thanks for coming in, Jordan. Yep, appreciate it. Thank you.